Peter, thanks so much for joining us today. And we're excited to learn more about what your company does and what you're doing to help in the pandemic.
Thank you, John.
Could you just introduce yourself and your company a little bit and tell us specifically how things have been for your company as you've dealt with the response to the pandemic?
Sure, I can. So, yeah, as John had mentioned, I'm Dr. Peter Corey. I'm the president and CEO of a biologics contract and development manufacturing organization located in Alachua, Florida, which is north central Florida. It's a community just outside of Gainesville, which is home to the University of Florida. And we opened this facility about 3 years ago. So what we do is we develop and manufacture biopharmaceutical products. And as a CDMO, which is the acronym used for a contract development and manufacturing organization, we partner to bring R&D programs into a manufacturing environment where the product undergoes the development of a process to scale up and manufacture at high volumes for clinical studies and eventually for the market. So you had asked about COVID-19, and we're extremely busy with partners who have developed novel approaches for the production of vaccines and for monoclonal antibodies for the prevention of this pandemic virus. Fortunately, our facility in the Gainesville area, as I said, just opened 3 years ago and really is state-of-the-art for biomanufacturing. We have separate suites for concurrent manufacturing of different products up to what's called a biosafety level 3. So we can handle the very dangerous type products such as COVID or Ebola being two examples. We also use flexible single-use technologies, which are skid-mounted processing equipment. I always tell everyone it's like playing with Legos. We bring them into these big, what we call ballroom suites, and we could take these and sort of build the manufacturing process to manufacture the product within these suites. We have the latest technology for quality and safety. We have negative pressure cascades throughout the building to make sure nothing escapes the environment. We use chlorine dioxide for decontamination. We have an on-site bio-waste treatment facility. We have all the supporting quality laboratories on site and HEPA supply and return systems. And what I really like is we utilize information technology in the cloud to really help our employees manage their time, their efforts, to share information and quickly receive and retrieve documents when needed.
So how does your company use master control?
So we use it in a few different ways. And I can tell you that it's become very important during this COVID outbreak. So during this past year, we have been preparing and successfully executing projects for what we refer to as rapid response. And this has been working with the Department of Defense so we could prove that if there were some kind of outbreak or, even worse, a type of bioterrorist release, that we could rapidly respond. And these rapid response projects like COVID-19 really pressure our systems, our processes, and our personnel to operate at escalated risks and in a reduced timeline. So we found it most important to have a quality management system that can support that rapid response effort while still maintaining regulatory compliance. And really, the master control cloud-based document and training modules have really allowed flexibility within the workflows and the execution to enable us to progress our critical documents such as our batch records, qualifications, and specifications in a very efficient manner to meet the required compressed project timelines. And we've also realized tremendous value and opportunity through the risk module to document and monitor and manage the impact associated with the increased risk that we're facing with our rapid response projects. The simplicity within that module oftentimes allows us to perform an impact assessment to allow activities to initiate without any undue delays. So probably like your organization and many organizations throughout the world, we still have a significant percentage of our staff working from home to maintain social distancing for COVID-19. We have about 200 employees at the facility here. We also have locations in the Washington, D.C. area, so in the Beltway, and we also do out in the Bay Area in San Francisco. And all of those are running into this problem of having to maintain social distance. In fact, the other two locations, everyone works from home. At this location, about 50% of the 200 people are working from home. So the master control cloud-based platform has been essential in allowing critical activities to efficiently progress cross-functionally with staff to meet the necessary timelines. So the team's able to process and hand off any of the necessary QMS records in an unprecedented amount of time with staff operating both on and off site. I think we fully realize that this would not have been possible in a paper-based or even a client-hosted system to move these projects forward rapidly without our QMS in the cloud.
Thanks for those comments. That's really enlightening as to how your quality system is helping you out in this time. Being right in the middle of the COVID-19 response, can you share your thoughts about where we are in the antibody and vaccine process?
Sure, I can. So my background, by the way, I have a doctorate in clinical microbiology, and I have an MBA also from Cornell University. So my years in prior companies, and I had worked with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, had been dealing with mainly vaccines, other biologics also. But I fully understand what can happen during a pandemic and what the response should be. And also, having worked in the commercial world, I understand the process and really how difficult and how long and how many times things fail along the way when you're developing biologic products. So both really are moving at a rapid rate, both antibodies and vaccine process. But we do need to put it in perspective, as this virus was not known as an agent of rapid human-to-human transmission until the end of last year. So that was, only 6 months ago. To have well over 100 companies working on R&D programs for vaccines and antibodies, and actually having a few entering clinical studies already, shows the dedication of many to finding a way to protect against the spread. On a normal schedule, the development, clinical study, and regulatory review process could take 6 to 10 years or more for a vaccine. But the nature of this disease is such that both companies and the government are willing to take risks to tighten timelines, and the FDA. So as a scientist, I expect an antibody-based preventative measure in place during the last quarter of 2019. Will it be available to everyone? Certainly not. First responders, those that every day are dealing with COVID-19 in emergency rooms, etc., will have access to it. Antibodies don't protect you permanently. They're only for a short amount of time. It's the vaccine that'll make the most impact. And that probably will be available to all maybe 4 to 6 months later. So looking the first 2 quarters of 2021 instead of the last quarter of 2020.
Okay. Yeah, boy, that's great to hear your perception on that. It's just amazing to see the number of processes and tests and clinical processes that have been approved and are accelerating with the accelerated approval processes that we've been reading about. And many of our professionals in this conference are experiencing and driving themselves. How do you think that changes the approach of a quality professional? We've got over 200 quality professionals they're on the line, or they're on this virtual conference. How do you think that changes their job? The speed that's needed and the regulatory approach. How do you think that changes what they should be doing?
Well, I think that you're still held to the same standards. I always say quality is king. That's sort of our mantra here. And it's true. I mean, I've worked for companies and I've watched some of our competitors run into quality problems, and it can ruin a company. It can ruin your reputation, literally take years for you to recover from something like that. So when the FDA finds ways of tightening the timelines, it doesn't relieve you at all from the level of quality that's been set. It just makes it more difficult to manage all of that information. And this is where I feel that we've been almost blessed, in the sense that with the ability, as we were designing and building this building, to bring in advanced technologies and then overlay it with a quality management system that was advanced, and then being able to test that with the Department of Defense by doing some of these rapid response projects have really worked out well for us. So, being able to manage documents in a case like this, where half your people are working at home, having everything in the cloud so people can retrieve and transfer, and it has worked out great for us. So I don't think it changes the way FDA looks at things. It just condenses the timeline and holds you to still the same high level of quality that I'm sure most quality professionals are agree to.
Yeah, it's really cool to see the combination of the history of the company that you're describing, that kind of all put you in a spot to really be effective in addressing this situation. It's comforting to know that there are professionals and companies like yours out there that are set up to really help us as a society handle this. So my hat's off to you for the foresight in getting your organization together in that manner. One last question. You addressed it a little bit in talking about the quality approach, but just seeing the compressed time cycles and the demands that places on life sciences professionals to change and adapt. Do you have any advice for managing business in these changing environments to our customers, attendees?
I do actually. I have a professional one and a personal one. I think the professional one is look objectively. It's one thing to have in place your process and your procedures, and people get very comfortable with what they're used to doing, and it's sometimes difficult for them to look at new approaches. But I was able to come in at a time where we were looking for a quality management system for the company, have worked with some phenomenal companies, with Merck and with Baxter, and had some advice from some of the best quality professionals that I knew at that time. But when it came to really making a decision, I knew what we would need and went out and, matched that with the system that myself and our quality professionals thought was best for us. So even though it was a little bit of a change, actually quite a big change from the process that was in place before I was here, if you were to ask anyone in this company, literally anyone in the company, because everyone uses QMS someplace in their daily activities, if things were better with the old process or the new, there is not one person, I guarantee, that would say, let's go back to the old process. But it took some yanking to get them over the hump to get into a new system in the cloud, but guarantee they will never go back. But on a personal note, it's really important for anyone managing businesses in a challenging environment such as this to really have the mental stamina, the ability to truly look at ways of improving, as I said, process and in learning from mistakes. And most importantly, I really think taking time each day to appreciate, the people that surround you, whether it's family, friends, your coworkers, because by doing so, it helps give us reason to what we do each day. In the case of our company right now, we're literally doing 24/7, and people are working 7 days a week. But we look around us and we say we're doing it for the right reason. This too shall pass. But if we can make it pass quicker by our efforts now, we're 100% in to do it. So, I wish everyone the best, and I'm hoping that this pandemic is solved and over soon.
Great. And we hope that you guys can be a big part of that. And we are committed to supporting you however we can. I sure appreciate the time that you've spent with us today, and your comments have been wonderful and very useful. And thanks so much for all you're doing. Appreciate it, and your staff as well.
Thank you, John.
All right. Thanks.